The Filipino crowd chanting for Pacquiao as he moved toward the center of the ring even before the opening bell. Good straight left hand up the middle for Manny Pacquiao. Yesterday, where De La Hoya was barefoot and Pacquiao had tennis shoes on. Today, they do look 4 inches apart in height.
You can see the height difference here. Oscar seems to be very intent and very angry. I just see the expression.
He takes a straight left hand and a right hook from Pacquiao and seems the jab going throughout the fight. He hasn't really gotten it going so far.
This has the makings of being a very interesting fight, and I think as it goes
on, they're simple. De La Hoya is so much taller. Pacquiao so much faster. And now De La Hoya nails.
Confusing him at the moment.
But it would get him big.
Momentarily shocked Oscar.
I think the stand right through the middle of De La Hoya's guard. De La Hoya lands a left hook.
But
Pacquiao gets away.
He punched, but nothing landed too much for the most part.
Pacquiao's learning curve has accelerated through the middle portion of his career. There was a moment when he was, even though dangerous and destructive, largely a one-note tune. Jab, jab, straight left hand. His ability to fashion the lead left hand, starting his offense with it, as he's doing there, shows how much he's progressed.
A weight division 2 rested him. He isn't doing it yet.
And he hasn't riddled with the left-hand lead. He has reddened De La Hoya's nose from top to bottom with that punch.
Manny's upper body movement and defense is very, very effective, let's just say. Oscar cannot time his head movement the way he's moving.
He is reduced to mostly trying to go at the body because he hasn't been able to find Pacquiao's head.
But he has no head movement at all. His head is stationary.
Good body shot. Doubled over. One of the best weapons in the sport for over a decade.
The speed and variety of Manny Pacquiao on offense, the head movement defensively, the straight left hand up the middle. He has carved out an edge in the first couple of rounds against the longer of his power shots. This is a big problem for Oscar De La Hoya, who has landed only 6 of 56 attempted jabs, according to CompuBox.
Doesn't look as strong. Body looks a little weak. And as I said, his upper body movement is not going on.
You're telling me we're going to see a shutout, Emmanuel?
I think Manny's going to get stronger as the fight goes on. Even though he's winning now. Oscar has no defense for those punches. He's just stationary.
Chin right hand. But sooner or later, he's going to land something. You have to believe that.
He just landed a good left hook to the body there. And Pacquiao following redness in the middle of De La Hoya's face. The product of Pacquiao's straight left hand. And all. Pacquiao's speed taking De La Hoya to the cleaners. Now Oscar seems just a little more comfortable, though Pacquiao is still more offensive, more the aggressor in the fight, moving in and out effectively.
But Oscar's, I think, to me, more aggressive. But the punch with the snap and the speed is coming from
when you're 35 years old, than to move up in weight when you're 29.
Absolutely, absolutely. And right now, you know, and Oscar, I know he's into this kangaroo meat or whatever he's doing and things, but to me, he just doesn't look that strong when he does.
His punch up with jabs. De La Hoya seems shocked and not ready for the left-hand lead of Manny Pacquiao. Harold, how do you score through 3?
Look at him, 3-0, 30-27, Manny Pacquiao. Jim, what he's doing is he's turning the guy. Look, right jab, left hand, and then he moves to the side. He's got Oscar turning, and man, he's turning him. Oscar looks like a guy going out, doing a 360. 3-0, Manny Pacquiao.
Has never been a super destructive punch for De La Hoya. I asked Freddie Roach yesterday in our meeting, I said, have you ever seen Oscar De La Hoya really?
And if Oscar's not going to move his head, at least he keep his right hand to the center of his face, and more he keeps it up. And that's what Oscar needs to do, is keep working that jab. Manny could not.
Body shots there by Pacquiao. And if there was doubt coming in as to whether Pacquiao.
So he stays out of the line of fire. He hits it and moves away as soon as he lands it.
This is getting embarrassing.
It's an event when De La Hoya dodges it. Seem to be landing for Pacquiao.
Oscar looks old and he cannot control the situation. The worst thing in the world is to come back and complain, so I can't handle the speed of Oscar. He cannot handle the speed.
Oscar said he needed this fight to convince himself whether he could keep fighting. He's got 8 more rounds to find out whether he is...
Pacquiao, 32 out of 47, 68% connect percentage. Oscar Dela Hoya, 8 out of 20. Dela Hoya looked a lot better in May of 2007 against Floyd Mayweather, who was far and away the preeminent fighter in the world at that time, and since then has retired unbeaten.
He's always beating him to the punch.
This is a terrible feeling. He doesn't block those right hands at all. He has his right hand permanently stuck to the side of his face, and Manny just punches us like
more of an intelligent and tactical fight plan than I personally had expected, and perhaps more so than Dela Hoya expected as well. Is a riddle he has not been able to solve.
I think you summed it all up in that phrase. You know, when a lot of the experts...
Good body shot by Oscar.
Biggest punch of the fight for Dela Hoya, and he suddenly gets it going.
Back into this fight.
Well, if judges are looking for a round to give to Dela Hoya, this might be the one, although now Pacquiao rallies down the stretch.
Showing it's not insurmountable.
CompuBox
so
numbers
far.
in the 5th round. Manny Pacquiao, known as Pac-Man, threw 86 punches. Dela Hoya threw 65. Pacquiao had a 27-8 edge in power connects. So it probably
now to be a counterpuncher. He's going to try to make Manny lead him and look for an opening.
And prevent Pacquiao from countering him as effectively as he has so far.
Even a lot of those punches that Manny has landed, which is on the cup, if you notice, he's never been worn because Oscar has his cup extremely high. So they're really on the belt line. They're not on really low punches.
They trade body shots. Pacquiao giving. When Nacho Beristain asks between rounds for 45s, he's not asking that Dela Hoya look 45 years old, but rather that he throws his combination left hook, left hook. He hasn't been able to land it much tonight.
Never seen a single punch in the entire fight. Neither fighter been able to establish any other dominant punch at all, but he just throws that little left cross straight out anytime he wants it. It's almost...
Yeah, the left eye looks like it's going to have a problem as the rounds go on.
Well, a lot of critics pointed out that Dela Hoya looked scuffed up after fighting Steve Forbes in May. Fighting Manny Pacquiao is something entirely different from fighting Steve Forbes. Let's go, Freddie. Well, we're halfway through the fight, and some observers are still amazed at what they're seeing, although each round has gone by. Harold, how do you have it so far?
That gives you 6 rounds to nothing, 60-54, Manny Pacquiao. I mean, Oscar De La Hoya hasn't gotten off the schneid. He's getting shut out. And Freddie Roach used the key word at the end of round number 5 when he said...
And Oscar hasn't shown that knockout power in a long time. I disregard to some degree the Mayorga fight because I was not that respectful ever of Mayorga, but he hasn't knocked out many of the top elite fighters in a long time.
Yeah, Ricardo Mayorga is no elite fighter in my view. No. He's the most willing target in the sport.
Yes.
Yeah, but still you would think against the so-called smaller man, we'd see something more.
But I think Jim summed it up. There's just too much of everything. He just cannot figure out how to get into the fight, how to hold him off, how to get to him. It's too much of everything tonight.
Oscar is maybe trying to lay a trap, but Manny is too smart and too fast for him.
Yeah. This fight's going to probably end up being stopped.
Manny Pacquiao is annihilating Oscar De La Hoya. And in the 7th round, De La Hoya has 0 answers for the Pacquiao assault.
No, he cannot do anything.
Pacquiao is making De La Hoya look old, slow, ineffectual. Sparring partner.
Some of us wondered
this fight's over with.
Whether Manny Pacquiao would become the Henry Armstrong of this era. Right now, he's looking like the immortal Armstrong.
And Oscar is barely throwing back. You wonder if Tony Weeks is thinking of stopping the fight.
Yes. Who's looking entirely at Oscar.
De La Hoya hasn't been down but that may be the only thing that's keeping Weeks from stopping.
He hasn't thrown a meaningful punch in nearly this whole round.
Pacquiao is closing in on landing 50 power shots in the round. It's the most power punches ever landed on De La Hoya in a single round of his career. And virtually all of his fights have been counted by CompuBox. Cringing in the face of Pacquiao's unstoppable onslaught. CompuBox numbers in the 7th round. De La Hoya including 45 of 76 power shots. David Diaz was closer to being in the fight against Pacquiao than Oscar Dela Hoya is at this moment.
You know,
still trying to hang in there against a man in his prime who is the most exciting little fighter in the world.
Little?
Big,
he looks
little
big
fighter.
Tonight. You envision this one. Could you see Pacquiao against Margarito?
No, and he himself says he's going back to 140 after this fight. This could be the end of the fight here.
The fighter who may have the best chance of picking up his identity as the economic bell cow of the sport. Because Pacquiao's following is growing, not just in the Pacific Rim, but in the United States and Latin America as well. Tony Weeks has a tough decision in front of him. There's a lot of glory and a lot. Hey,
you have a headache? Huh?
He doesn't feel anything.
Oscar, you have a headache? Are you busy? Huh? You have a headache?
Okay, listen, no. Listen, if you keep taking punches, I'm stopping the fight. Okay?
We're gonna stop it. Better we stop it. It's our decision, Oscar. It's a decision that we have to take. There's no reason to continue with this. He's too fast. Are you okay? Are you with that? You agree? Yes. One more round, or is that it? Is that it?
Right now, you're here. The corner is wanting to stop the fight.
Is that it? Yeah? That's it? Let's finish it. That's it. Let's go.
Fight is over.
The victorious Manny Pacquiao knelt to pray in the same corner where George Foreman got down on his knees 13 years ago after knocking out Michael.
The winner by TKO victory, and still the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, the fighting pride of the Philippines, Manny Pacquiao.